I was flying back from a conference, and so I was taking the little puddle jump flight from DIA back to Laramie, and it was nighttime, and we were flying over the mountains, and there was just this sort of vast swath of nothingness, of wilderness, and then as we approached Laramie, there was just this little outpost of lights, and just something in me jumped, and I thought, like, that's my little outpost, I really, really genuinely love it here. I can't imagine living anywhere else. I'm Dr. Julia Obert. I'm an associate professor of English. I'm also the assistant chair of the department. I've been here for, 12 years. I study primarily post-colonial lit. I do a lot of Irish studies stuff. I teach some theory classes. I think I initially sort of thought, what's a Laramie? And then the longer I was here, I think it took me about maybe a year and a half. I liked it right from the start because my colleagues were great and my students were awesome. I have a book coming out this September from Oxford University Press. What is it called now? The Making and Unmaking of Colonial Cities, Urban Planning, Imperial Power, and the Improvisational Itineraries of the Poor. Oxford really liked that subtitle. I thought it was a bit of a mouthful, but they dug it, so that's what we're going with. It's a comparative study of architectural and urban planning schemes in different colonial cities. There are sort of 4 different case study chapters. One is about Belfast, Northern Ireland, which is a place I've worked a lot in the past. And then there's a chapter on Windhoek, Namibia, a chapter on Bridgetown, Barbados, and a chapter on Hanoi, Vietnam. Yeah, so my first book was about basically like Troubles era and post-Troubles Northern Ireland. While I was working on that, I went and lived in Belfast for a couple summers and things like that. I think it's super important, if you're working on a place, this sounds kind of obvious, I guess, right? But to be embedded in that place, right? I mean, it's very difficult to be a credible interlocutor about a space that you've not really spent substantial amounts of time in, right? The cool thing about the English major at UW is it's very sort of choose your own adventure. Once you've taken kind of a variety of different kinds of classes and you've figured out where your interests lie, whether that be in, medieval literature or whether that be in contemporary literature, whether it be British, American, or global literatures, whatever, then you can kind of say, okay, well, I'm going to look at more upper division classes in those areas, and I can kind of start to specialize in ways that I care about. There's also different tracks in the English major. So there's a literary studies track and what we call an English studies track, which maybe is a slightly confusing moniker, but that track is sort of a hybrid of rhetoric and composition courses and professional writing courses and literature courses. So in that case, if you're interested in, working for a publication, if you're interested in, writing for the web, if you're interested in, in editorial work, those kinds of things. There's actually quite a number of pretty hands-on, practical kinds of classes, magazine writing, things like that you can take on that side of things that will help sort of direct your career path. A number of our classes are cross-listed with, African American diaspora studies, Latino-Latina studies, gender and women's studies, etc. We have really close ties with, disability studies, that minor, and we have really close ties with the honors program, so a lot of our faculty teach over there as well. I would say just inherently, our department is pretty interdisciplinary. There's this thing about Wyoming, about Laramie in particular, I think, where there's just this very strongly rooted sense of place, right? And one of the things that I study is kind of theories of space and place. I feel like Laramie has the strongest sense of place consciousness of anywhere I've ever lived or maybe even been. There are so many people who live here who care so deeply about Laramie, and about the university. There are just a lot of people doing really interesting artistic and cultural things and community activism and things like that. I love to ski. I love to cross country ski. I like to climb. I like to snowshoe. There are just a ton of really interesting places to go in Wyoming and also in northern Colorado. There's such kind of astonishing, vast swaths of nothingness here in the best possible way. Try everything, you know. Laramie is a place full of little weirdnesses. Just throw yourself at all of those things. You're sort of, you know, in a new city for the first time, kind of going, oh, where am I supposed to be, and who goes to these kinds of things? And you know, in Laramie, the answer is usually everybody.